talk about the TripAdvisor as our project. Our agenda is first introduction about the background, and then introduce our data description, and show our problem statement, and introduce our methodology, and show you all the results and discussion. And then we will give you all our conclusions, and then about the contributions of each member and all the references. First, let me introduce our introduction about the brief background. In recent years, the travel and tourism industry has contributed around $7 trillion to the global economy annually, nearly $8 trillion in 2016. A highly profitable and valuable industry to the global economy. Travel and tourism makes direct economic impact of more than $2 trillion each year. Vast improvements in technology and living conditions over the past century have led to the development and the strong growth of tourism, including phenomena such as mass tourism. So our project is all about TripAdvisor, which is the world's largest travel site, enabling travelers to unleash the potential of every trip. TripAdvisor offers advice from millions of travelers, with 500 million reviews and opinions covering 7 million accommodations, restaurants, and attractions, and a wide variety of travel choices and playing features, checking more than 200 websites to help travelers find and book today's lowest hotel prices. TripAdvisor branded sites make up the largest travel community in the world, reaching 390 million average unique monthly visitors in 49 markets worldwide. Here is the brave competitors' founding timeline. TripAdvisor was founded in 2000, and their competitors like Expedia, Priceline.com, and Ctrip were founded earlier. Then, Kayak, Yelp, and Airbnb came up after TripAdvisor. Based on MIT Sloan Management Reviews rating bubbles theory, researchers found out that online ratings tend to be disproportionately positive, which was described as the J-shaped distribution of online rating. For example, the distributions of product ratings on Amazon.com include far more extreme positive, like 5-star than negative, 1-star or 2-star, or generally positive, like 3-star or 4-star reviews. Trends towards positivity have also been observed in restaurant ratings and movie and book reviews on a variety of different websites. In order to meet our visitors' higher demands, we need to solve the problem of disproportionately positive ratings. And the interesting thing is, by ignoring the existing rating stars, we will be doing our own text mining, especially for restaurants in San Francisco, to provide more precise search results and have a manageable scope for our project.
Now I will basically introduce about our data description, how we do for this project. The data source we use is from the TripAdvisor website, and we're choosing the restaurant category. And we basically crawling the website from the TripAdvisor and scribing the review for the real updating comments. And we save the review as the Excel document, and then do the data cleansing by transfer cases, tokenize stop words, filter, sting, generates n-grams, and filter token by length. We also have a normalization for all the tables and text contents. And then we're doing the improving analyze models, training and testing, and also come up with the results of the ranking. So basically, all the pages are scrubbing related to the Chinese restaurant, American restaurant, and cafe, which are located in San Francisco, California. We focus on the sentiment analysis for the review comments and using the performance of the restaurant aspect dictionary in the aspect-based sentiment analysis operator by Alien, and then creating the 4 over variables like service, food, price, location. And we have a range score from 1 to 10. And the following result table will show in the top 10 of the ranking.
So our problem statement, or our overall goal with this project, is essentially to categorize existing and potentially future reviews based on the aspect of restaurant, like service, food, price, or location, and also the sentiment, whether the review had a positive review about the price of this restaurant, for example. We also like to quantify the total sentiment per restaurant per aspect in order to give a ranking of the restaurants by aspect score and therefore promote these restaurants in TripAdvisor's search engine results for San Francisco. So an overall look of our methodology and process summary. So in the beginning, we started by crawling and scraping on TripAdvisor to get reviews for 91 restaurants in San Francisco, spread out over the 3 categories of American, Chinese, and cafe type restaurants. We then broke those reviews into sentences and kind of cleaned up the data, as Xiao just explained. And then what we did is we ran those through an analyze aspect-based sentiment operator that's from Alien. These sentences were categorized as either positive, negative, or neutral per their relative aspect, as example, food, so either positive or negative or neutral for food. After that, we created a label in order to train our data set, and we created a classification model using a naive Bayes learner and a bagging operator. After that, we went through a validation process with our model, and we also worked to improve our accuracy. And therefore, after that, our model is ready to run with actual reviews. And so essentially, we would run our reviews through our model, and the classification model would assign aspect polarity scores. And then we'd rank our restaurants with their respective aspects. And essentially, our top-ranked restaurants would be the ones promoted in those search results.
So here is our data collection. First, we crawled all the Chinese links and American and cafes websites. Our crawl rules is about the focus on the reviews and store all the reviews involved links. Our max crawl depth is 4 and retrieve as HTML. Our max pages like 100 and the max page size is 1000, and then our crawling result is like this, all the links. And then output HTML is 30 American links and 31 cafes links and 30 Chinese restaurants links. So here is our scrubbing process. First, we process the documents from all the files and write all the results into Excel. Inside of the processed document of files, we first extract information for our restaurant names, and then inside of the cut document, we extract information of our restaurant reviews. So here is our scrubbing result involving all the labels, reviews, metadata, and so on. And then we clean the data by selecting only the restaurant names and the restaurant reviews.
Because that all the reviews that we cut out is kind of like a paragraph, so we're gonna split up the reviews by sentence. There's 2 ways to split up the sentence. One is using Excel, and another one is using the Rapaminer. Basically, the using Excel sentence split up is like selecting the clone of the review and then go to data and using the text to clone function and select the delimiter and then choosing a new clone to store the new separate data. And recommended also can be used for this function, and we compare both different types of the results, and we think Excel works better. And then we normalize all the data into the one column. So basically, we're using SQL for this process. The SQL is like restructure all the things, all the name and the review 2, 3, 4 into the review 1, and then we delete the new value since not all of the review has like multiple sentence. So and then we build new tables and explore it. Next, Changqing will talking about the alien.
Yeah, and then we'll use aspect-based sentiment analysis by alien to analyze those reviews fragment. So aspect-based sentiment analysis is working on analyze sentiments of an input based on its aspect. It's given a review for a product or service and labeled it to related topics. Alien provided 4 domains: restaurant, cars, hotels, and airlines. At this point, we are using the restaurant as a domain. So the first step is using aspect-based sentiment analysis tools to label the sentence into categories like food, location, menu, business, payment, staff, value, cleanliness, desserts, drinks, facilities, reservation. The sentences are then further labeled as positive, negative, or neutral, respectively. The second, export the result and split the label into categories and sentiment columns. Third step, split the restaurant names out from the result, and then relabel the categories into topics. So we group by the payment and value into price, topic, and drinks, dessert into food category. Then staff, facilities into service category, and then location category. That is a screenshot of our process and the final and the result of the alien.
So now I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail of our actual model that we use. Here we have an overview on the left of reading the Excel with our labels, processing documents from data, setting the role of our label, weighting by information gain ratio, select by weights, and then also the cross-validation operator. So we move over to the top right box. Inside of our cross-validation operator, we have our bagging ensemble learner. And we have, of course, apply model and performance there on the right, as we commonly use in this class. And inside of our bagging operator, we use the naive Bayes learner to create all of our individual models for the randomly selected data sets. That bagging performs. And here inside is the same process as seen on those tutorials. And inside of our processing documents from data, we have tokenized transform cases, generate n-grams with n equaling 2, filter tokens by length with length maximum 10, filtering stop words of English, and then of course snowball stemming. And our overall model evaluation, our overall accuracy was about a 77% accuracy. However, the most costly error, I would say, for our model to create is a false positive, because we really don't want to be promoting restaurants that don't actually have positive reviews about them. So if we look under the class recall of true positives, we actually have a 99.06% accuracy of the ability to correctly identify a true positive review with this model. And therefore what it does, we might miss some positive reviews, however we will not never, but most likely very rarely promote an actual negative review as a positive review with this model, which is very important, as we clearly don't want to lose customers by sending them to poor restaurants. And how we got the model to this accuracy is we just use bagging to essentially reduce the possibility of overfitting and also just increase our overall accuracy as well. So now we're going to talk about some results here, starting with the cafe.
And based on the result generated by the alien, so we can assign some numerical numbers to the positive, negative, and neutral. So we assign number 1 with a positive, we assign negative 1 with a negative, and we assign 0 to neutral. Then we can group by every restaurant and sum up their sentiment score, descending from high to low. The tables are the top 10 for each categories. As we can see from the diagram, people who tend to go to cafe are more care about food, flavor, types, and so on. Price is not really important for customers. As you can see from the table, there is an interesting cafe restaurant named Craftsman and Wolves. It has 112 reviews. Among them, 70 are excellent, 32 are very good, and the negative reviews are talking about food. Looks not good and the egg is not that hot. Another interesting restaurant is Tyler Street Coffee Shop. It has 868 reviews from the TripAdvisor website. 64% of them are excellent and 29% is very good. And there are 4 terrible reviews and 9 poor reviews, which majorly talking about the disappointing of food. And also, if you look at the Beanstalk Cafe, there are 72 reviews with 2 poor score because no food are stand out. And then we'll talk about the American restaurant.
Okay, so here are our ranking tables of the 4 American aspects. Here we have a table ranking the restaurants on food score, location score, pricing score, and also service score. So this is essentially just what our ranking tables look like here at the end for our results. And kind of going on to the discussion of the American category, essentially American restaurant goers, and American being a typical American food restaurant, not just restaurants in the United States. They tend to care more about food and service overall. But kind of some interesting aspects about this category is not a single restaurant actually appeared in the top 10 of all of those aspects. So there's not a restaurant that had it all, really, in San Francisco. Another interesting thing is 6 restaurants were actually shared between the top 10 of price and location. So it seems like location and price might have something to do with each other, which makes sense since different restaurants in different areas of a town tend to be more upscale or lower scale as well. There are 5 restaurants shared in top 10 in both service and food, which also makes sense because if I'm going to pay $50 for a steak, I'd like good service with that as well. And also 4 restaurants were shared between service and price, which was kind of more interesting since really just restaurants weren't highly shared between the top 10, so we do have a service and price little sharing going on there. And overall, I'd say the top 3 restaurants that, in my personal opinion, ranked the best, simply because they were ranked highest in our top 10, was Bistro Boudin and Sweet Maple, which were ranked in the top 10 for location, food, and price. Sweet Maple making the top 2 in food and price as well. So apparently Sweet Maple, you can get a good deal for a good burger. And also John Foley's was ranked in top 10 for price, service, and location. So next we're going to move on to the results and discussion of the Chinese category.
Yeah, from those 4 tables showcase the food, price, location, and service score of the Chinese restaurant. We can indicate that people who went to the Chinese restaurant are care about the food, service, and price. Location is not that important. There's the first restaurant ranked in the food score table is Good Monko Bakery, and it has extremely high ranking on both food and price list. However, they are missing from the location and service list. It may indicate that this is a cheap restaurant with delicious food, but they are far away from the downtown, and the service cannot delight the customer.
So in conclusion, Our process allows us to rank restaurants per aspect based on review content and sentiment to provide more specific results based on the customer's search. These rankings did not coincide with the overall rankings, which are already up on TripAdvisor, thereby actually improving those search results that would have otherwise been overlooked. Another important takeaway of our process was actually this could be very widely applied to any end user, be it a startup or a company, essentially just anybody who wants to know the overall sentiment of the various aspects either of their own business or of an industry, as long as there were reviews, obviously, that we could crawl and scrape from the web. So we just want to thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions, just let us know.